Hi, welcome to the Coaching Game. I'm Laurie Lawson, and tonight my guest is Dr. Patrick Williams. I'm going to call him Dr. Pat because everybody else does. Welcome, Dr. Patrick Williams.
Hi, Laurie. Good to be back.
Yes, so glad. I have to tell you, we had technical glitches and we're really just back from a few minutes ago, but we're going to give this another try here. Dr. Pat is an executive leadership coach, and he wants to work and loves to work with people who are ready to do the next big thing. And last time when I was with Dr. Pat, he was telling me about his book, and encouraging everybody to go ahead and get naked. So we're going to talk to him about that and see exactly what he's been doing with that and what he's up to now. So welcome to the Coaching Game. What you been doing lately?
Well, yeah, thanks. It's funny, when I was on your program, I had just created that book called Getting Naked on Emotional Transparency, at the right time, right place, right person. And that was the 7th book I've written. The other ones were all on coaching and becoming a coach and ethics of coaching, etc. But that has now developed into a program for coaches called Conscious Living Mastery. The book is good for anybody, but it's about having a place, a person, and a time where you can share your real truth. We all probably hide stuff that we may or may not be aware of, things from our past that might have damaged us, that may make us embarrassed, things we did, stuff that happened last week. You know, it doesn't matter, but it's a matter of how can you be aware, so conscious again, of what's holding you back from being your most authentic self. So my program takes my metaphor of getting naked with your clothes on, which is, emotional transparency, but teaches how can coaches use that in their own life so that they're present and authentic with their clients, but also teach their clients how to do that without, what would be the word, without it being overly risky. I mean, you don't go out in the middle of Fifth Avenue and get naked, right? So you have to get naked emotionally with the right person, right time, and the right place, much like other people are writing today. Susan David in Emotional Agility, Brene Brown and all her books on courageous vulnerability. It's becoming a way of life that is finally embracing emotions as being something we need to pay attention to, not be afraid of. And in coaching, that's very true.
That's interesting, because there's certainly emotional intelligence has, been hot for, the last decade, maybe not quite that long.
Yeah, longer than that, actually.
Is it really? Well,
Yeah.
that tells you when I became aware of it, right? So everything else is related to me, but yeah, so it probably has been around for a longer time. You're right. I remember MBA degrees, they were so cut and dried, and suddenly the colleges realized, oh, these people don't know how to deal with other people. We've got to throw in a little emotional intelligence. So that was way back when. But well, on that note then, what's the difference between emotional intelligence and emotional transparency? Is there a difference there?
Action. I think we have a lot of knowledge of emotional intelligence, but what do you do with it? How do you make intelligence practical? What are the action steps that you do to be more emotionally intelligent? Emotional intelligence talks about being aware, consciously aware, relating in emotions and relationships, self-regulation. But that's all good. But how do you do it in your people you live with, people you work with, and with your own self? So I think getting naked, emotional transparency, is like emotional intelligence put to action. What do you do with it?
Work. I love that.
Yeah. What do you do with it?
So when you're saying, I know you don't mean people go out and just go, oh, what just happened to me, to total strangers. How do you narrow that down? How do you decide, oh, with whom am I going to be emotionally transparent?
Well, my philosophy is you have to be very careful. You can't trust everybody. Any more than you would. There used to be that thing called stranger on a train. People would talk to a stranger on a train because they're never going to see him again, right? But you wouldn't go get physically naked somewhere in public, even though that's a common dream theme, by the way, as you're growing up, being naked in public is one of the top 8 dream themes, because we feel like sharing ourselves emotionally is like disrobing. It's like taking off our mask, which I have a whole chapter on, a whole program on. And sometimes we need to be aware of our mask. It's okay for you to go to the annual Christmas party and wear a mask just to survive the politics or survive the nuances of stupidity that occurs when we used to have Christmas parties.
Yes, yes.
Um, but
Back in the day, back in the
yeah,
day.
but if you're aware that you're wearing a mask, you're more authentic. You're not being that person. You're aware that you're protecting yourself in that environment. But where can you go where you don't have to protect yourself? Who can make you feel safe, loved, courageous, vulnerability is accepted? And that's what we coaches do with our clients, whether it's leadership coaching or health and wellness or life coaching or whatever. We hope that they feel that they can share with anything with us because we're non-judgmental and we listen, we create the space for real sharing. So my program that I've developed from my book, Conscious Living Mastery, is a program I've developed from my book for coaches and therapists, other helping professionals, to make sure they're aware of what are the rough edges in their life that might need some expression or amelioration. I mean, is there something happening in your life like a death or a loss or a problem child or whatever it might be that would affect you being present with your clients? And then how can you use your learning and some of the programs I've offered with your clients? How can they learn to be more authentic? So some of it is appropriate self-disclosure. As a coach, can I share enough about my life where my client doesn't get my whole story, but they know that I too have experienced ABC. I too have, so you don't make it your session, but you normalize your client's experience as part of life. Now, what do you do with it? Now, how do you express it and don't hide it and let it, what's the word? I guess mature and change and shift, because that's what we do in life. We're looking to learn from what happened now that we may have chosen, we may not have chosen, but we want to get on with living as purposely and as functionally as we can, consciously as we can.
That's interesting because I'm wondering if you're saying once you express it, then you lighten the load a little bit. Because I remember I'm an old HR director, and I remember I used to tell people, when we were mentoring for interviews and everything, if you walk into an interview and you're so nervous and I don't want to show it and I'm hiding this, and I said, just release it, just tell them, oh, I'm really nervous, I hope I do good. And then it's out there, and nobody has to really, you don't have to hide it, and nobody has to pretend they don't see it, it's there. Does that kind of how that works with conscious living also?
It is, but I often use the phrase, and it's not my phrase, it's out there. If you name it, you can claim it, and then you can tame it. So if you name it, you claim it, you tame it. So if you say, I'm really feeling scared, or I'm really feeling hurt, or I'm experiencing that, a few months ago, my daughter got diagnosed with blank, or my wife passed away, or I got divorced. You don't have to share all that with your clients, but you need to have some place where you name what you're experiencing and normalize it. Emotions are normal. All emotions are good. Some just don't feel good. We don't want to feel angry. We don't want to feel hurt. But if we deny them, they'll grow and fester like an infection. They'll get bigger. They'll take over. They'll leak into other parts of our life. We call that psychological leakage. If you, I've got a game in my office called the Barrel of Monkeys. These plastic monkeys that people used to reach down. I did it with child therapy. Reach down and see how many monkeys you can pull out, right? Mm-hmm. But that's like anger. If I have an issue with my daughter and it doesn't get expressed, and another one doesn't get expressed, and another one gets expressed, and all of a sudden I say something to her and she blows up at me, it's like, well, that was like 10 monkeys for one little share. It was like way over the top of what was called for because the others didn't get expressed, if that makes sense.
Oh, so much
So
so.
the getting naked is to be aware of what's hovering in your shadow or in your behind the scenes, whatever you want to, under the surface that hasn't been expressed that will help you dissipate. I use the metaphor in coaching of going deeper, but we're not doing psychological archaeology. We're just going deeper, like snorkeling in the Caribbean. What's right under the surface? What's not being aware? What's not aware? And that can be both beauty and fearful. Some people love snorkeling. Some people, the first time they do it, they can't breathe. They're, oh my God, I'm panicking. But we're not scuba diving to 110 feet, metaphorically. We're just looking into the surface.
That's interesting because I find that one of the problems that I personally have is that I can trick myself so well. It's like it's like I am so rational and I have a reason for everything I do and I'm absolutely right. And then suddenly I will wake up and go, oh my gosh, what have I been doing?
Yeah.
Is there any way to circumvent that, or is that part of the process?
Well, I think it's part of the process, but as a coach, when I teach going deeper in the conversation, is I don't accept just the superficial. So it's not like I think you're lying or you're being deceptive, but I might say, so Laurie, who do you need to become for this change you're experiencing to be a positive effect for you? Or who do you need to become for this vision that you have for yourself to happen? A lot of the coaching today is about being of the client, the being of the coach. It's not about the doing. I mean, I can coach anybody in any profession because I coach the person, not the problem. No matter
We
what.
say coaching the who instead of the what. That's it.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Now, if they want a consultant on how to do better with being a team leader, we can talk about that. But it's also going to be, they're going to be a better team leader if they accept how they need to change internally to be a team leader. How do they need to have that confidence and competence and shift in being to be authentic and real and not try to play a role that's not them?
How has the role of a team leader or a leader of any kind, how has that changed over the last year? Because we all know 2020 was a rough way to go.
Yeah.
What changes did you see in the leadership roles?
You know, there's a lot, and this is so positive. There's a lot of mention. The new CEO of Goldman Sachs a year ago, and I wrote a blog about this for Forbes. He was telling his managers to be more transparent, to be more authentic, to share enough realistically. So when their employees came to work and you said, "Hi, how are you?" you really wanted to know the answer. That we in this workplace, if we say, "Hi, how are you?" don't go fine and walk on down the hall. You can say, there's a challenge going on with my younger daughter, and I'm not, but and you can say, thanks for letting me know. I understand how challenging that is. If I can offer any support, let me know. You don't have to go into the story. You don't have to go into depth, but if they want to come talk to you, you're available. There's more and more. I just went to several conferences this last few months at Institute of Coaching at Harvard, where I also did a presentation of my program on the importance of emotions. Susan David wrote a book called Emotional Agility. There's a book a man wrote on the importance of feelings. I mean, we're finally taking emotional intelligence that Daniel Goldberg wrote about in the 90s, actually. I mean, Goldman, sorry. I actually knew him in the 70s when he was president of the Institute of Transpersonal Psychology in his long-haired hippie days. But we've had emotional intelligence, which helped feelings and relationships be part of the conversation in the workplace. But they were done at an intellectual level. It's like, okay, if we have emotional intelligence, now what do we do with it? What's the practical aspect? Sharing emotions, sharing what I'm feeling, understanding what needs to shift, and not being afraid. All emotions are good. Some just don't feel good. If we ignore them, they'll grow. They'll metastasize, metaphorically. We don't like to feel anger and hurt, but we don't always feel elation and joy. Elation and joy will come if we express the anger and the hurt, because then that energy will shift into what could be and what else wants to be present.
Wow, fantastic. Tell me a little bit about, you said there are 12 modules in your program.
Yes.
Can you tell me like some of the modules, what are they about,
Yeah, I can give you a quick summary. So module 1 is kind of the overview of the whole thing, the power of self-disclosure.
Mhm.
When secrets are shared, they lose the power to shame us or make us feel like we're alone in our missteps or challenges. We all make mistakes. We all hide stuff. If there's anything we carry that is hidden away in our chamber, it's how do you clear your emotional clutter? Who can you share that to where they just hear it? They don't have to change it. Maybe you're still ashamed that you were adopted. You found out you were adopted, or maybe you were abused as a child, or maybe you got divorced, or maybe you were bankrupt. I mean, ad nauseum, it can be a ton of stuff, right? So how does that need to be shared and when? To fully experience life in the moment, how to become present to today. Do you hide your true self is module 3. I talk about being real, like in the child's book, becoming the Velveteen Rabbit, becoming real. It's a nice metaphor. If people don't know that book, it's a book for adults as well. Module 4 is moving through openness to vulnerability, fear, and courage. And we can do that in coaching conversations to share what's not been shared anywhere else and to find out it doesn't have as much power as you think it has. And then becoming more whole, more real, discovering your real inner beauty. That's about our self-image, aging and staging. Getting ready to create the life that we accept, because when you're 20 or 30 or 40, it's a lot different when you're 60 or 70 or 80, but you're still beautiful. You're still unique. You're still your individual uniqueness. Module 7 is about becoming perfectly imperfect. Module 8, loving who you really are. Module 9 is break out of self-imprisonment. In my book, I call it, prison breakout. You had the keys all along, because we put ourselves in prison sometimes. And then I have finding your life purpose, manifesting deep, lasting personal change, and lastly, attaining balance and to unleash personal power. So all the modules come with a 30-minute, 20 to 30-minute video. They come with a script. They come with exercises to do in each one. And they can be done sequentially or they can be done out of order. But anybody who signs up for the program will get access to all 12 modules at their own pace, and then 12 Zoom calls with me, plus they can be in the group forever, but 12 minimum, to get 38 credits for the International Coach Federation.
That's an amazing amount of credits.
Yeah.
It's worth it just for that. But so on the Zoom calls, is it a one-on-one with you, or is it a one-on-one with the group, or both?
It's a group right now. If people want to hire me to be their individual coach or schedule an individual session, they can do that extra. But I am present for every Zoom call 90% of the time. There may be sometimes I have one of my senior, I don't want to say students, senior learners do a presentation on something that they know that relates to the module. This month, I have somebody doing something in psychosynthesis, Roberto Assagioli's method for higher consciousness, but related to a module in my program. Because I consider this program, Laurie, my living legacy. I've been a coach for 30 years, was a psychologist before that. My doctoral degree and master's degree is in humanistic and transpersonal psychology. So I studied Maslow, and Carl Rogers was one of my teachers, and Fritz Perls. And so I learned from the masters of a different era, and then coaching transported me into a whole different view of the helping relationship more as a partner, instead of me being doctor and you being my client or patient. Coaching, as you know, is a partnership. And
You're way
that,
ahead of your time because ICF just shifted over on that. It's like, okay, now the big thing is partnering. Whereas
yes,
before it was like, you're going to coach and you're going to ask the questions, but now it's like, no,
right,
let's let the client in on
right.
this process, which I think
Yeah.
is a great idea. So you were ahead of your time on that one for
Well,
sure.
I'm thankful I was ahead of my time because I could see around the corner that when I wrote my first book in 2000 called Therapist as Life Coach, it's still a bestseller today. And my other books on coaching are used by a lot of coaching schools because I was early. I mean, I was early. I was the 12th school recognized internationally. I was one of the first 25 master certified coaches. Now there's 1,200 plus schools and who knows what, but that's okay. It's the growth of the profession. And so I can consider myself kind of a wise elder in the field.
And I think that's the way you're considered by a lot of people. It's like, well, let's check with Dr. Pat to see what he has to say, which
Yeah.
is great.
Yeah.
It's nice that you're around and still continuing to share your wealth of knowledge. So what did you, like we were talking, 2020 has been a crazy year. What did you learn from 2020?
Well, I've been a virtual coach and a virtual trainer for 25 years. I mean, the school that I used to own, the Institute for Life Coach Training, was always done by telephonic classes. So it didn't hurt us. Enrollment actually went up with the woman who bought my school, and I still teach for them. I don't coach many clients anymore. I actually donate my time to prisoners that I trained and got out, and I mentor them on adjusting to society and teaching, being a coach-like person now in their life. And then I do discounted service to Navy SEALs who are returning from duty and want to look at vocational coaching. So I give back a lot. I still teach and mentor some coaches, and I have a few private clients. But I consider I'm keeping my fingers in the pie. I won't retire. I call it repurposing my life. And the repurposing now is this program, which is my living legacy. People can buy it. They can engage with me. They can be on my Zoom calls. They can connect with me. And as long as I'm living and breathing, this program will continue to live and help people utilize what I've learned with their own life and their own clients. So I'm proud of that. It's got a lot of wisdom from others, people whose shoulders I stood upon to create what I created. And it's my expression of that through my long-lived life.
And proud you should be. Proud you should be. Your book, Getting Naked, is hilarious and enlightening. It's we're going to talk about where people can find that. But
Yeah.
what do you see around the bend for 2021? Got any insights that you want to share?
Well, it's not going to be as quickly back to normal as people hope, even with vaccines, with the COVID. But we're going to take a lot of positive learnings. I mean, God, I wish I'd bought Zoom stock 6 months ago because Zoom has become a way I even connect with my family better than I used to. It's pretty damn good. It doesn't replace the hugs and the kisses and the face-to-face and the Thanksgiving celebrations, etc. But I think a lot of corporations are going to find out, maybe we don't need as big as an office building. Maybe people can work from home and then check in more, maybe once a week in the site, or maybe they can work virtually. And if they have a coach, whether it's an internal coach or an external coach hired, it keeps them focused and on tap. However, working from home and living in home only is not enough. We still need places where we can be social beings and have our gatherings again at art festivals and sporting events and restaurants. But that's going to be, I still think that's several months away in 2021, at least till mid 21, before we're back to that kind of normal. So a lot of what was normal is not going to be back. Some of the good things from what we've learned will be present, like online shopping. I mean, I pity the small business owners in a town, and I hope they get supported. But if people want groceries or anything delivered, I've been doing that for years, way before COVID, because I hate shopping.
Yeah, I told you were ahead of your time. Yeah.
Yeah. But I also think we need to find a way to connect. Back in 2000, there was a book written called Megatrends 2000. And it was like high tech is going to demand high touch. Well, now we're in 2021. High tech still today demands, where do we get our high touch? Where do we get our real connection to the other people in our life, in real time? So 2021 will have its changes, but we're going to get back to part of normal where people can be in a real life space again. And hopefully there won't be more viruses coming that have change and shift and mutate. I think our science today has proven to be quick and viable and amazing, because we have 2 to 3 vaccines that are coming out at the beginning of 2021 now that look really promising. I mean, they're not going to be like the polio vaccine, but that took 4 years to actually take place. You know, polio wasn't eradicated right away. And I'm part of Rotary International. We're still trying to eradicate polio. There's only a few dozen cases left, but it will come back if we don't vaccinate, despite what some people think about vaccinations. There are some things we need to vaccinate because it will help get rid of the germs that propagate from however they started.
Right. Well, it sounds like, yes, flexibility is the name of the game. Connection is the name of the game. Sounds like your program answers both those needs, those essentials. So in the last minute and a half that we have, how can people find your book? How can they get in touch with you? How can they take your course? Where are you? I know you're not hiding. I know that for a fact.
Well, let me give 3 sites. First of all, my main website is www.drpatwilliams.com, drpatwilliams.com. The program for coaches, therapists, or just a growth seeker can be found at www.consciouslivingmastery.com. And right now I'm giving away a free module. If somebody wants to take it for a test drive, they can download the module, see what they think, and if they like the others, sign up. And my book, Getting Naked, is on Amazon, Kindle, hard copy, paperback, and audio files with me reading the book. So I recommend downloading the audio and reading the book while you're listening, because I listened to myself. I went, damn, that was good.
Sound like I know what I'm talking about. I like that.
So that's it. I'm on Amazon. All my other books are on there as well. But for the course that I'm really proud of is www.consciouslivingmastery.com.
Fantastic. I would recommend highly that everyone check it out because, as you can see, Dr. Pat has a lot of crazy, wonderful ideas. And I thank you so much for being a guest on the Coaching Game, and look forward to our next visit.
Thank you, Laurie. Be well.
Thank you. Take care.
Okay.